Homage to the lineage gurus. Homage to the Venerable Monk Liao Ming. Homage to Master Sakya Zhengkong. Homage to the 16 Dharma King Karmapa. And homage to Master Dzogchen Tarji. Homage to the three jewels of the altar. Homage to the main deity of Homa today, Adi Buddha. Samantabhadra Tathagata Vajradhara. Tsimo Tansen Katso Rinpoche, all masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma instructors, Dharma assistants, temple directors, disciples present here and over the internet, and our participating VIPs today. From the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Republic of Taiwan, the Secretary General of CCNAA, Ambassador Liao and Madam Liao. Accountant to True Buddha Foundation, Dharma Sister Teresa and her husband Larry. And the law advisor to the True Buddha Foundation, Mr. Luo and Ms. Kim. From CTI TV Taiwan, producers for the Geni Shendang Sinten, Dharma Sister Rebecca Suyachi. President of Indonesia Tatan Culture, Dharma Brother Arjun Chen and Mrs. Chen. A host to Singaporean television and an actress, Miss Ewing. Dr. Ryan Zhuang from the Tian Ya Yue Choir, Dharma Brother Ge and Dharma Sister Lin, Dharma Sister Gao, Dharma Sister Zhang. And from the Sunny Line Dancers, Dharma Sister Tsai, Dharma Sister Chu, Dharma Sister Zhang, Dharma Sister Su, and Dharma Brother Liang. And producers for the Great Perfection Dharma and the Divine Messages of Tantrayana, Master Lien Yue. And Dharma Sister Vivian Si. Dr. Mei Huang. Dharma Brother Qi Zong from Taiwan. Dr. Dzogchen. And the advisors to the overseas Chinese in China, in Seattle, Dharma Sister Winnie Xie. And from Shenzhen, the president of the PR, Miss Zhang Yue. Next Sunday, on September 27th, Sunday at 3 p.m., there will be the Homa fire offering ceremony of the 7 fortune gods. So the 7 gods, 7 fortune gods, are very popular in Japan. And VPC is a Japanese local fortune god. And the remaining 6 fortune gods belong to the Chinese tradition. So they adopted 6 of our fortune gods, and Taiwan adopted 1 of their fortune gods. So we have more fortune gods. If you don't like money, then you don't need to become the primary supplicant. No need to say more. Because the fortune god bestows fortune upon you and bestows good fortunes and resources. And among them, there are tantric fortune gods or the wealth deities like Mahakala. Like the Tai Bai Xing Xun and Nan Ji Xian, like from the North Pole and from the South Pole. So the Japanese are incredible. They adopted 6 of the Chinese fortune gods, and plus the Japanese local VBC god. They became the 7 fortune gods. And now we get them back. The mantra for Adi Buddha. Of the mantra, Betja is something that we heard often. It means wisdom, the greatest wisdom. And Ada Irma in Chinese, or Adi Buddha, is the name of the Buddha. Tatu, meaning number 1, Sukoi Ichiban. Tatu is number 1. So when we recite the Vairocana mantra, every time we talk about the greatest ones, there is some problem. The media people would resolve this issue. No need for that. So the Vairocana's Tathagata's mantra is also number 1, because he's at the center of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Vairocana, he's also number 1. There's also Dhatu in his mantra. Other than Vairocana and Adi Buddha, no other deities use Dhatu. So when we recite the Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra, the first deity is the pure light secret Buddha. And what is that? Pure light and secret. And that is Adi Buddha. So the first deity recited in the Hiking Guanyin Sutra is the pure light secret Buddha. And in our Buddhist studies, we talk about clear light radiance, and secret actually is the empty nature, and the merging of the clear light and emptiness, that would be the pure light secret Buddha, the first Dhatu Buddha. So secret refers to Buddha nature, and pure light refers to the clear light radiance. So the clear light is the function or the use of the Buddha, and secret and empty nature are the original essence of the Buddhas. We talk about the body or essence, the look or the appearance, and the function or the use. So the essence, and then the look or the appearance. The first one is the Buddha nature, the appearance, and the last one or the third one is the function or the use. If you truly attain Buddhahood, one is clear light radiance, and that's the function or the use. And the second is the secret, and that's the essence, and that's the Buddha nature. So now you understand what the pure light secret Buddha means. And there's one important point. That in our spiritual cultivation is we want to see our Buddha nature, but it is very difficult to see the Buddha nature. Some people never sees their Buddha natures. And sentient beings in the 6 rebirth realms are difficult to see the Buddha nature because they have karma. They need to first eliminate the karma before the Buddha nature can appear. So there was an arhat asked Sakyamuni Buddha, what is the use to be in this human world? And the Buddha replied, is to cope with your karma. So whatever karma that you have to eliminate it in order to see your original true face. So we know in this life it's very difficult to see your Buddha nature. But if you practice tantric dharma, yoga, and the secret yoga, primarily is to practice to see Buddha nature in the future. There are 2 methods to see Buddha nature. One is to study and practice the great perfection Dharma, Mahamudra, the ultimate victorious wisdom of Namri and Yamantaka. If you have attainments in that, then you would be able to see Buddha nature. If you don't have attainments, then you need to wait at the bardo state, which means when you die. When you're finished. Owari. That you are already game over in this life. So in Japanese, owari. In English, is die. All die. One by one. One by one 就是说一个接一个的 one by one one by one. So, in life, one by one will die. And this is not joke. It is the norm. You see others die, and your heart is burning. It's not passion for other people, but thinking that my time will come too. So everybody takes turn one by one to die. Everyone dies like that. At the time of death, there were four dissipation of the earth, water, fire, and wind. They would dissipate. Then the superficial consciousness is gone. You go into the deepest consciousness. When you get to the deepest consciousness, then the Buddha nature would appear. It is within 3.5 days after your death. 3.5 days. Why? Why there's a half to the added to the 3. So within 3.5 days, the Buddha nature would appear for you to see. If you're a yogi or yogini and you know, I've seen the Buddha nature appeared, and then you let your mind enter into the Buddha nature, you recite the mantra of your yidam, and your mind enters into the Buddha nature and merge with the Buddha nature, then you have attainment. And that would be attaining Buddhahood in the Bardo state after death. So after death, you enter into an intermediary spirit world called Bardo, and you have a chance to attain Buddhahood. Otherwise, you just go to the Pure Land. And the 5 Dhyani Buddhas have 5 Pure Lands. And each of the yidam that you practice has his or her own Pure Lands, belonging to whatever division that they belong to. So every deity has their own Pure Land. So when your yidam appears and you merge with the deity and you form the mudra, recite his mantra, mindful of him, and he appears and you enter into his heart, the heart of the yidam, then you would go to the Pure Land of this yidam. So there are 2 methods of liberation. One is to attain Buddhahood by seeing the Buddha nature. And second is by seeing the deity, you go to the deity's Pure Land. For what? To continue to cultivate spiritually in order to attain Buddhahood. And in the Pure Lands, that's the best place to cultivate spiritually because it's non-returning. Many Pure Lands are non-returning. So there are 2 methods to attain Buddhahood. One is you see a Buddha nature at the Bardo state. But attaining Buddhahood when you're alive, it's very difficult because the karma is still with you, that you cannot get rid of all your karma. And you get rid of the old karma, the new karma is arriving. So you're always in the cycle. Unless your karma is completely eradicated, you would see like the sky, clear light radiance. So the Buddha nature appears then, and you would merge with the Buddha nature and attain Buddhahood. Either at the Bardo state, or you see your deity like Amitabha Buddha and he gives you a lotus blossom and you get on it and then you go to the Pure Lands. So Buddhists aspire to achieve this, either of these 2, and they're both liberations. If you don't have any of those, so the situation at death is very similar to dreams. That in dreams you have all kinds of phenomena, and in the dreams you don't know that you are in the dreams, and you just cycle with it. Then you would be reborn in the 6 rebirth realms. If you awaken and you're clear that you already died and everything you encounter is illusory and they're all just karmic debtors, only if you see the Didam or the appearance of the Buddha nature and merge with them that you would have attainment. So all efforts in your spiritual cultivation is for this. If you still have habitual tendencies, you're greedy about money, love, sex or sensualities, still consumed by fame and love to eat and sleep, and you still have heavy tendencies in this, and if there's a beautiful lady appearing at the time of your death, you would follow her and follow into the 6 rebirth cycle. Or if money and riches appeared, then you follow that. You would also be into the rebirth cycle. Or the high position that you desire, you would also get into the rebirth cycle. So you need to be able to eliminate all of your habitual tendencies. That's why it is extremely difficult. The mudra for the Adi-Buddha is this inward clasp of the 4 fingers and the 2 thumbs up straight. So one represents yang, one represents yin, and one represents wisdom, and the other one represents skillful means or convenience. And they're all in union. So Adi-Buddha is always in dual bodies. His appearance is in dual bodies, representing the union of skillful means or convenience and wisdom. It also symbolizes the union of emptiness and great bliss, and also the union of wisdom and compassion. We are not teaching you to be like this in your Buddhist studies. Please don't mistake it. Otherwise you'll be dead. If you cannot abandon your habitual tendencies, then you're nothing. Oh, did I say hi? How are you? Everyone, how do you do? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. 昨天呢，我们谈大圆满法里面呢。
Yesterday, in the book, in the sutra, it said there was a dharma called the transference of a soul of a tantrika, and also the secret of the reincarnations and manifestations of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So now let me talk about this dharma of transference of soul of a tantrika. In Tantrayana, there's a dharma called the transference of a soul of a tantrika. Those dharma. For example, like for Grandmaster, when it's time, one by one will die. When it's time for my time to die, should I get into a reincarnation to be reborn again? Or returning to the Mahadabha lotus ponds, to the Pure Lands, or to merge into the ocean of Buddha nature through the rainbow light manifestation? Or do I want to be reincarnated into another human being? If I want to be reincarnated, I would observe two Buddha disciples that the female is very beautiful and a good family, harmonious, and with good fortunes and wisdom. And they asked Grandmaster to bless her on the head and also on the womb. And Grandmaster discovers that this is the place for my reincarnation because the family environment is good. The educational background is also good, very high. And both husband and wife are good looking. The husband is handsome, the wife is really beautiful. So maybe I want to be reincarnated there. So after touching that, I get back to my home, entered into meditation, and my consciousness, the deepest consciousness, let's talk in simple words. So my soul leaves my body, and I directly enter into the womb of that female disciple. There was already a master there, a being there, a being that is willing to be reincarnated into their family. But I catch this being, the master of the womb, and throw it out. You get out. So let me reside in here instead. You find other place. So that being left, and I entered into the womb. And I would start to learn to swim. So when I would be born, I would know how to swim. So in this life, when I was born, I also knew how to swim because I knew how to swim in the mother's womb. And when I was thrown into the swimming pool, only I could swim. So that kind of method is called the transference of a soul of a tantrika. And this Dharma exists in Tantrayana. So prior to this reincarnation, I would write it down. The name of my would-be father, would-be mother, their would-be residence, and then the disciples could find me there. That would be me. So by kind of like snatching, so it's like the womb inside. So the baby or the embryo that's already there, I snatch it and then I reside there. I go there to reside. So most Rinpoche's reincarnation or most living Buddha's reincarnations are like this. I want to be reborn and by entering into the womb. And there was one more of this transference of soul of a tantrika that was very obvious, very vivid. A tantrika, a siddha, that has attainment called a Siddha, like Grandmaster in the 70s, has a very high attainments in his spiritual cultivation. And the fourth patriarch of Zen Buddhism was called Daoxin. And the fifth patriarch was called Hongren. The fourth patriarch was called Daoxin. And he was reincarnated at other places, and one of them was the pine tree farmers. The trees here at the Rainbow Villa are pine trees, and they are very straight. They grow upright. And recently, we want to cut down the pine trees at the Rainbow Temple because we have so many forest fire. So it's very dangerous. So we need to clean them, cut them down, and then plant new saplings to let them grow. So there was a Taoist master who planted pine trees, and he was a spiritual cultivator, a Siddha with attainment, and he went to seek the fourth patriarch, Daoxin. He seek the fourth patriarch, Daoxin. I want to study Zen so that I could have attainments and be the fifth patriarch. But the fourth patriarch thought, you're already in your 70s, you're already aged, and stoop over and with bad eyesight. How can I transmit Buddha Dharma to you? How about your next life? Because this pine farmer Taoist wanted to be reincarnated again, and he saw a young lady washing clothes on the river, by the river, and she's very youthful and kind-hearted. So he told the young lady, can I stay at your place for a night? And the young lady saw an elderly man needed that, and she agreed. So she brought the old man to her home and told her parents that he wanted to stay overnight, and the parents agreed too. And then, all of a sudden, this elderly Taoist disappeared. And soon afterwards, the lady got pregnant. And the parents were really curious, how could you get pregnant? In that village, it was scandalous. It was really a bad thing. So the parents kicked out this lady, and she became homeless wanderer, and she gave birth to the reincarnation of this pine farmer Taoist. And the mother was a beggar, and the son was also a beggar, following the mother. But this child was a cultivator. when he met the fourth patriarch, relied to him, and the fourth patriarch recognized that this is the elderly pine farmer that now has become a young beggar, and then trained him, and eventually he became the fifth patriarch Hongren. So the process was called the transference of a soul of a tantrika, or snatch and dwell. So the consciousness went into the womb of that young lady. And Jesus too was also using this method, that his mother, Maria, and her husband-to-be went to Nazareth for the censorship. They had not gotten married then, and they never got together then. But Maria was impregnated by the spirit, and that's this transference of a soul of a tantrika, of the Tantrayana. And Grandmaster too is the same. When my mother married my father, and only 7 months later I was born. So my father, of course, could not accept me as his son. And I was specially enshrouded by like a white thread. So I was like the Prince Nasa, that he was born out of like a meatball, that when you split it open, the Nacha came out of it. But I was enshrouded in that white thread and had to be wiped off before the child was born, before the child appeared. So my father did not recognize me as his son, because I was also impregnated by the soul, by the spirit. My mother said that I was prematurely born. That most babies, if they were born prematurely at 7 months, they need to be hospitalized, but I was fine. So this is transference of a soul, of a tantrika. And also Marba of the Kagyupa, the Tibetan patriarch. He also knew, he also mastered this Dharma of transference of a soul. The hunters shot on a deer, and they followed the deer. And the deer ran to the front of Marba, and Marba was under the tree meditating in the forest. And the hunters chased after the deer because they shot the deer, and it got shot and about to die. And the hunters told Marba that this deer is ours. And Marba said, no, this deer is mine. How come? The hunter said, it's about to die, it's mine. But Marba said, no, the deer is still alive. And the hunters, it's dead, it's laid dead here. How come you say it's alive? But Marba said, no, it's alive. It's mine. And then they argued and said, if the deer is alive, then it's Marba's. If it's dead, then it would belong to the hunters. Then Marba used this transference of a soul. Simply said, he let his soul come out from his body and enter into the deer, and makes the deer alive. It stood up and looked around. And then when the hunters saw that, they left. And then Marba took back his soul into his body then Maharpa had some barbecue to eat. So that's the transference of a soul by Maharpa. So that's how it is. So when living Buddhas can master this transference of a soul, then they can make note of their would-be father, would-be mother, and where they would be born. This is a very high, only high-level Rinpoches can do this kind of reincarnations. So this is my explanation of this transference of soul Dharma. Let me share a joke. A husband and wife are laying on bed, and the wife saw her old picture and asked the husband, do I look better in the photo or as a person, in the person? And the husband replied, well, you look better in the dark. People in the world are blinded. You know, our reincarnations too are blinded. You cannot see clearly. Only spiritual cultivators would be able to see clearly. And how to go to the Pure Land, how to be reincarnated, how to go through the transference of a soul, and only this would be a real attainment. The tourists asked the housekeepers and said, you know, we heard that there are lots of ghosts around, and then the housekeeper said, never, you know, because I've been here for 300 years and I've never seen any ghost. So as a ghost, doesn't even know that he's already a ghost. Some human beings, after they die, they're in bardo state and they didn't know that they're already a ghost. They went back to their house, and talked to their family members, and nobody heard. And they tried to touch their family, and they couldn't touch anything, and they didn't feel anything. And the living beings also don't feel anything. They just thought, this is strange. What happened? No more sensation. At that time, only at that time you realize that you're already dead. Some people didn't know that they're already dead, especially when it was through a sudden death, like when they were on a plane and the plane falls, then they don't even know that they're dead already. Or they're in their sleep and the house was burned and they're burned to death. Or if you're standing on a tall building and then bricks falling on their heads and they died suddenly. The elder sister-in-law of Reverend Lien Zhen suffered that proud experience. So the elder sister-in-law of Reverend Lien Zhen was an English teacher, and she was standing under the Union newspaper building talking to a parent, and her head was hit by a brick that fell off the wall of the building, and she died suddenly. And most of his family members took refuge into Buddha school. Only this eldest sister-in-law did not take refuge. What a coincidence. It didn't hit Lian Zhen or Lian Ya, didn't hit them, but it hit her, and she was the only one that didn't take refuge. Because we often recite in our merit dedication, O gods of the heavens, gods of the earth, may we be far from all calamities, may all calamities abandon us, let all disasters turn into dust, so that we are spared from those disasters, that all disasters turn into dust. When the disasters disappear, the intangible disasters disappear, then you would not suffer those accidents. You will not experience those accidents. So the phenomena of the ghosts are similar to the human life, but ghosts also have some supernatural power. Taking the child to get an injection, it would be a lie not to feel hurt. So to be a good parent, I honestly tell him that there would be slight pain in the injection, but if you don't get the injection, you would suffer more pain when I beat you. So there's a meaning to this joke. Lots of hardships in our spiritual cultivation. It is extremely difficult. But if you don't cultivate spiritually, that if you fall into the rebirth cycle in the future, that would be even more painful and more suffering. So do you want to cultivate spiritually? Yes. At least if you train in the transference of a soul, you can be reborn wherever you decide. But without it, without the mastery of that Dharma, through the reincarnation, and you open your eyes and you're in the Africa's horn, you're born in Africa's horn, and you're black all over. In Taiwanese, Obama means all black and dark, and no nutrition, not food, enough food to eat, and really hot. You'll be scorched. And if you can't run faster than the lion, you would be eaten by the lions. And it is a very difficult place to live, and there's also no Buddha Dharma there. There would be even more suffering. So if you're reincarnated without your own control, without your own intention or consciousness, then you would be and you go to Syria, that would be kind of like aimless rebirth. You would follow the refugees, follow your parents just for food to eat, and in that place there's also no Buddha Dharma. And your life would be full of hardships, and that would be true suffering. Like if you're born in the war place, or if you create too much bad karma, and you're born, if in the human world, at least if you have some spiritual cultivation training before, maybe you're born as a human being, but as a handicap or disabled person, that's also lots of suffering. So in our spiritual cultivation, the most important thing is to master our own birth and death. And in order to do that, you need to master this Dharma of transference of soul. You want to be reborn in what country or what family. If you want to become president, then you transfer your soul onto a womb of that whatever country of your chosen, and then you grow up and become president. So, honey, what should I give you for Valentine's Day? And the wife said, whatever you give me, I would like. And the husband said, how come if I send you off to your family, your mother's home, and then you can come back 2 days later? There are two housewives, young housewives are talking, and they talk about the good way to cut onions without tearing. And the other one asked, oh really, how? And she replied, just let your husband do it. The way not to cry cutting onions. So that's a choice. So in the 6 rebirth realms, you have a choice. You want to go to heavens, that in the future you would still fall into the rebirth cycle. But in the human realm, it's the best place for spiritual cultivation. If you go to the Asura heaven, that's just wars and battles. And to hell, there's ultimate misery. And if you fall into the animal realm, then you become really stupid and dull, or the hungry ghost realm. Even on earth it exists that sometimes you have food and sometimes you don't even have food to eat. That's like the hungry ghost realm. So of the 6 rebirth realms, the best realm would be the human realm, because we know how to cultivate spiritually here. So you need to choose. Or you just have attainments, or you just choose the human realm. For New Year's, want to buy a bouquet of flowers and bring home. And the wife saw a pot of mimosa and she touched it, and it didn't move. So she asked the boss, so what happened? But this mimosa has a thick face, which means shameless. You cannot be lazy and procrastinate in your spiritual cultivation. I teach you to cultivate and you still don't. So how do you do it? You need to set your own homework in the morning, at night. Like I asked the 16 Karma Pa, the Dharma King. Dharma King, may I ask, how do you cultivate spiritually? And he replied, in the morning, I do the green Tara practice for the 16 Dharma King. And at night, he did the practice of Mahakala, of the 6-armed Mahakala. So that was his protector. So at the daytime, he did Tara practice, and at night he did the protector Mahakala practice. So he had his homework. Like for Grandmaster, in the morning, I did the Amitabha Great Dharma, the Yidam, Amitabha Yidam practice. And then I would perform the 4 preliminary practices. I would pay homage to all the altars for a total of 200 push-ups. That's the homework I set for myself, 200 times of push-ups. So about 20 push-ups at each altar. So 5 altars for a total of 100. Let me count how many altars I have. Golden Mother altar, Amitabha altar, Mahamayuri altar, Sakyamuni altar, Ganapati altar for the wealth deity, Guru Padmasambhava altar, 6 altars, and Kuan Yin altar, and Mahotara altar. And Yamantaka altar, and the altar of the 20 heavens. There are 10 altars for a total of 200 push-ups. I would pay homage to each altar 20 times, and then I perform the 4 fundamental practices and Amitabha Dharma every morning. And during meals, I would perform offerings. And in the morning, I would also make offerings to the ghosts and spirits. Typically, it's afternoon, but for me, in the morning. And then, after one tantric practice and write my book, that's the whole morning. And in the afternoon, I would do exercises. Sometimes spiritual consultation, or going to the Tripura Foundation for the blessing the letters and drawing the fools or talismans. And at night, I would practice the protector and treasure vase, Pingqi, and swallowing the saliva, and then meditation. So that's the whole day, and never stop for a single day. So every single day, one practice at least. So the 16 Dharma King Kamapa, at the daytime Tara, and at night the protector practice. That's how it is. I just went to the bank to take care of. In Taiwan, there was someone like a stock analyst, Atupo, just talking about this. I lost 40%. Now what should I do? Talking about to talk to the financial advisor. So if you still have a liquid asset, you can buy more. If you still have bullets, which means if you still have resources, you can buy more. And then, but the stock analyst replied, said, I would just use the bullet to kill you. It's like a stock analyst in Taiwan that was always interviewed when the stock market moves. But if you get too involved in the stock market, then forget about your spiritual cultivation. You don't have that affinity or that opportunity anymore. There are 2 cars crossing each other on a very narrow bridge, so one of them has to give way. So it's in a dead end. So one of the drivers was reading a newspaper and hoping the other driver would be impatient and would back out. But instead he said, well, after you finish your newspaper, please let me read it. So because they have too much time. Because when you're idle and you have so much time and you don't make use of your time to cultivate spiritually. If I was the driver and I saw another car blocking me, I would sit on top of the cover there and then sit meditating. I can forget about everything and sit quietly and smile at you. And then the driver said, oh, this is a Mahasiddha or Sadaka. Then they would back out their car. So don't be idle. Make use of your time. Of course, you need to eat and sleep and walk and exercise, but you need to make the best use of your time. You can recite mantras even when you stroll or walk. Lao Wang said, I told a joke to Li and his teeth fell off when he heard it. Why? Because he laughed? Because it wasn't funny at all. No, he didn't laugh. It wasn't funny at all. Because I was upset and hit him and punched him, so his teeth fell off. The teacher asked the students, asked Xiaoming, it takes 3 minutes to steam a bun, and how long will it take to steam 3 buns? 9 minutes. So you steam the bun one by one, and so how long does it take for you to eat one steam bun? 1 minute. And how long does it take you to eat 10 buns? 10 minutes. You think I'm as stupid as you are? You eat 10 buns in 10 minutes, then you would be up to your throat. And the teacher said, get out. So there are tips and tricks in spiritual cultivation. If you master it and you practice diligently, then you would obtain the Dharma taste. Otherwise, you won't. And the last joke. Last night, my dad drank too much and was carried by several uncles back home. And the dad was on the sofa, and the uncles laughed. And then when I closed the door and turned back, my dad slapped me and said, how come you're home so late? So there's some disasters, so we need to perform the protector's practice, and you need to protect yourself so that you don't suffer from those disasters. Thank you very much for the precious Buddha Dharma teaching.